Y'all ready to twink?
All right. Welcome to episode 89 of 15 with the Buns. As always, I am UB.
I am Buns.
And Buns has a shiny new headset for your audio pleasure. The website has finally been fixed. Yet for some reason has intermittent load times. But if you go to any like the page speed insights or GT metrics or pingdom, it says it's lightning fast. But depending upon your device, it's varied success, but it'll get there and it's a lot faster. I find on my tablet it's instant. On my desktop it's between 1 second and 5 seconds, depending upon how much the site feels like fucking with me. I've thrown up a few guides for 39s, which are in the midst of attempting a revival. Rise and I, on Saturday, actually did 2 podcasts. We did a doubleheader, one of which was talking about bracket revivals that I really liked. We went a little hard in that. We dove down in the paint and did some mid chopping. I actually really liked it.
Some mid chopping.
Yeah.
So mid chopping helps with bracket revivals. I just want to make sure. Is that what we heard here first from UB? Mid chop for bracket revivals.
Just listen to the cast and you'll understand what I mean by that.
Alrighty.
So that went up yesterday. Check that out. And I'll put up the other one we did probably next Monday, and that one's actually on Hearthstone. That's not a Warcraft cast. So be on the lookout for that. It's been a while since Rise and I have done a cast, and it was really nice to be able to chat with him for a while.
I haven't talked to Rise in a while, so that's awesome. I'm going to take a listen to that.
It was fucking fantastic.
Rise is always awesome. Just one of those people that's awesome to have on the cast.
Yes, just good person all around. Always has great points to make. Super smart guy, and just fun to listen and talk to. Yeah. So he's my shout out, if you guys couldn't tell where I was going with that.
My shout out goes out to my buddy Nudge. He gave me a few turning idea points on our topic today. Some little jingle points I'm going to use. So
was he the inspiration, you could say?
No, not the inspiration. I'll speak on the inspiration.
All right.
Actually, I don't know if inspiration's the right word. Probably overall game depression is maybe the right words. But yeah, so yeah.
All right, well, why don't we... God, this has been a very disjointed intro. let's just dive... Well, we had a week off. We're always rusty after a week off.
I just got more to say, I'm just coming out cannons firing right now.
Well, fucking light that wick and let's hear it.
All right, so... Like normal, me and UB show up today. Not totally... Well, technically I did have something to talk about. Just most of the time the things I have to talk about, I'm feeling really good about talking about. And today, I have something to talk about that I don't feel so good about talking about, but it's the only thing I feel like talking about, so it kind of goes full circle. So last night, I was just kind of hanging out in my bed, trying to go to sleep, watching some Twitch, and, on your Twitch phone, Twitch phone app has been getting significantly better with every update. It's now at the point where you can click on a stream, you can kind of tab out, you can scroll, but you have the stream up in the bottom half of your screen, so you can still watch that while you're looking for another stream.
Cool.
Stream. So that's definitely a nice addition that has been added recently. Anyways, I'm clicking through games, I'm trying to find World of Warcraft, and lo and behold, World of Warcraft is like the 12th game up there number-wise. To put it in perspective, RuneScape had more viewers than World of Warcraft by a lot.
See, that blows... Why? That's like a why thing. Like, that, and I guess that's kind of the core, but why would more people be tuned in to watch people play RuneScape than Warcraft?
Because, it was mind-boggling, because you're always like, there was RuneScape, that's like the big first MMORPG or whatever.
Yeah.
And then, World of Warcraft was almost like, the one-up. It was like the baby brother that just kind of boomed by. And,
he
for
learned
me to go
from
back...
older brother's mistakes. Like, okay, I saw what he did wrong there. I'm going to capitalize and change that. And
we're in a weird lapse, though, right now, dude. It's like, I should not ever, ever go on Twitch ever again and see that RuneScape is past World of Warcraft and stream. Like, what on earth is going on for RuneScape? Do you know what RuneScape is, UB? You go get an axe, you go fight and kill people, and if anyone kills you, everything you've worked for in the game is completely destroyed.
Okay, wait. In all fairness, if there is someone, who's doing the stream on Twitch and has the camera set up, like we do now, or you do when you're streaming, and they lost all their shit that they'd been spending like the past year working on, that reaction would be worth turning into. But I don't know about all of the lead up to it.
I just feel like Runes. Okay, I'm not trying here to bash on RuneScape, but my view of RuneScape is like Minecraft with friends, or people you don't know actually really on the internet. Just an MMORPG of.
Gosh,
Minecraft.
I don't know if that's the best analogy because people fucking love them some Minecraft.
Well, I'm just saying in the fact that like the graphics are pretty shit. You go around and collect things, and if you die, you lose everything in your inventory.
Wait, what do you mean by collect things? Is it like running around picking flowers and such?
Well, no, but you have to get all your materials and such. Like from what I remember, you have to like cut down trees. You have to make your.
I see where the
etc.
Minecraft thing comes in then. Okay.
So right, so kind of. Anyways, not here to rip on RuneScape. I'm actually here to rip on WoW. Well, not really rip on WoW either, but I'm like, what the
Just
heck?
ask
I
a
shouldn't
question.
go onto Twitch, and RuneScape should never, in this day and age, be out of World of Warcraft. So let's ask the question:
Well, why do you think?
why is there a lack of interest in World of Warcraft right now? To the point where games like RuneScape are drawing more interest than World of Warcraft.
Now, are you coming at this from a general perspective, from like the game as a whole? Are you looking at this as your perspective, or do you want to hone in the fact as to why more people are watching RuneScape than Warcraft?
Well, I think we can hit this from every angle.
Okay.
Recently, I think the sub count for World of Warcraft is back into the 10 million again. I think it's close.
I didn't realize it even got back up that high. I know it dropped down to like the 6s or 7s at one point. I didn't know it climbed back up so much.
So I heard that from someone in stream the other day. So that's not a super credible source, but I think that like their intention. I think what Blizzard has done recently in some angles is smart, because I think money-wise, they're probably making a ton of money with World of Warcraft with all the little niche things they're doing now with like battle pets, customized mounts that you can buy, customized headpieces, boosting a character transfers, character services, name changes, sex changes in WoW. Yeah,
the microtransaction-based model, so to speak.
Right, and I think that from one angle, Blizzard's making a ton of money from stuff like that. So where their concern is from a business perspective, it is a game, but at the same time, it's a business perspective. Why would they keep the game running if they're not making money?
Yeah, you're not going to run at a deficit.
And, we were kind of talking about this a little bit before the cast started. I'm like, I think WoW has always been favored to the PvE aspects of the game. For one way or another, that's just kind of how the game's been shaped, and you can kind of tell that through when they release raids and stuff. That's usually the big hits that come out, and a lot of the changes are favorable to PvE than they are to PvP when patches come in.
That could go directly into why are more people, say, watching RuneScape or a game like, I'm just going to throw out League of Legends because that's probably one of the dominants on there, in that esports are getting more and more popular every year.
Right.
I mean, like talking about it's a business model, so to speak, there's a lot of money to be made. And people, at least in my experience, enjoy watching a PvP event much more than a PvE. What's that? Go ahead.
You keep going. No. You're hitting all the spots.
So it's like if the game continues to cater more towards that PvE environment, that's all well and good, and Blizzard's smart to sort of capitalize on that revenue stream or aspect of the game. But that also means that the other side, the PvP side, the side that most likely more people enjoy watching, aren't going to have the same sort of balanced competitive content that they can see while watching something else.
Right, no, exactly. And I think that was exactly what I was going to bring up, and you nailed it. There's just, I know that there are certain streamers that will come on and they'll show, like, their guild doing, like, some of the top new raids and clearing bosses and new material coming out. And yeah, there's definitely a crowd for that. But, you go onto Twitch, and most of the time, people are there to look for player versus player fighting. Whether it be most favorably arenas, battlegrounds, etc. People are there to watch other people smash real, living human beings on the other side of the world, on the other side of the monitor. You know what I mean? And that, I feel, okay, from a WoD perspective, PvP is just awful, this expansion. Just awful. It's the worst. So bad. And here we are, coming up to 6.2. 6.2. So we're coming close to 2 patches. And the balance of PvP from endgame to low level is just dog shit. So you ask the question, it's like people are here to watch other people. People like watching other people fight other players through PvP, arenas, and battlegrounds. But some of these players, some of these top players, have lost interest in playing top-level battlegrounds and PvP because the balance of play is not there.
And a stream like anything else, like the top streamers are basically a name brand.
Right.
And when those go away, I mean, it takes a while to establish that brand. And if all of a sudden that just stops existing, it's like, how do you all of a sudden make up for that? And when you brought up Battlegrounds, that made me think of something, and that has to do with the rampant issues that plague RBGs in general. And all you need to do is spend 30 seconds on the forums to see thread after thread complaining about DDoSing or cheating in one way or another. And not only does that kill... Well, I guess it's a trickle-down effect. If the people don't want to play because it can't be a competitive game because you always have people trying to cheat to win, then there's going to be less people streaming. There's going to be less people to watch the streams. And who's going to want to watch a stream where it's like, oh, that dude's just going to DDoS the other team. That dude's just going to do some sort of fly hack.
Right.
Or they're going to be running... I feel like interrupt bots are way over-exaggerated. But I'm just going to put that out there because that's one that I see frequently brought up. Or script bots for rotations, especially in regards to, say, warlocks. Or like orb botting that Mistweavers faced in WoD. I mean, those are real issues that take away from the quality of gameplay. And if you're not delivering the quality product, there's just not going to be the demand for it.
And, it even goes... you look at it from a competitive aspect and you have some of these things that are popping up. But even from a simplified aspect, there's so many people just in, like, regular battlegrounds, regular dungeons, who simply just bot their way through it. All the way through it. Whether it be dungeons or battlegrounds. And it's like, from a whole game perspective, that's having, like, huge trickle-down impacts. Because in one sense, it's like, it's really nice for the people that are using it because... hey, it's free honor. They could be out at their work, or it's free levels while they're not doing something. But then at the same time, for the people that are playing the game and are having the experience, it sucks because you're literally sitting there with an automated program that is click to moving. So that's not good. That's, for overall game quality, points down for sure. And the issue is, with as much as Blizzard actually has been... Blizzard has recognized this as an issue and has been cutting down some of the programs, or attempting to at least. Mm-hmm. There's still just an inordinate amount of people that are still getting away with botting.
But what's really fucked is that it's a issue that players introduced. So it's really the players, in a sense, are fucking themselves. You have all these people that are doing the pilots, running these programs. They're buying their ratings and cheapening everything that should be held to high esteem in this game. And then the end net result is decreasing from their overall experience, decreasing from the exposure and what they would like to do. Like, what if you're an upcoming streamer and stuff and you choose WoW is what you want to do?
Right.
If you have other options, and this is more, say, establishing brand, like, if you're right now starting to create a company based around one sport, are you picking baseball or are you picking soccer or basketball or I guess to football? You know, you're going to put your money in where you could probably get some sort of return, or maybe money doesn't care. You just want viewers. You want to be able to get there and create an interactive community with the people viewing your stream. If you can go in and start a League of Legends stream or fuck RuneScape and just start up and get 10 people watching, or if you want to toil in Warcraft and have to spend 6 months just to get an average of 10 viewers, it's like, well, what the fuck? I like both games. My goal is to set up a stream where I can have that interaction. I'll just go with the other game.
And that's kind of where it's getting to with WoW. It's like, PvP-wise, WoW quality is so bad that there's people out there that are going over and trying new games. We are getting to that point. And, you know, for a lot of people here, that sounds weird. But up until now, and even as of now, WoW is one of those games where people play WoW. It's like they play WoW and they don't play anything else. Like, it's a big game for them. For me personally, I play WoW. I don't play anything else. I'll play console games every blue moon when I people over. But seriously, like, I'll just play WoW, and WoW's one of those type of games that just draws people in. It's a community kind of game. But right now, the quality has been so low for a long period of time that you're starting to lose people. And you know what? That's a weird thing to say. The quality's been low in like a PvP aspect. I don't know enough about PvE to say where PvE's at. But one thing I can say is that PvE has definitely been extremely simplified. So I'm sure that the top end players have to be less challenged than they were before on many aspects. Whether it comes to breakpoints on hots and dots and stuff like that, with the changes to how they handle that. To simply having the actual guides out for how to fight certain bosses and certain mobs in the instances with the
yeah, that is true. You have people that before the expansion is released, you'll have top guilds that already run through it on the PTR or racing through to do it. And you know what else this might be? It just might be the cycle in the life of a game. And it's proliferated itself so much through the culture that once was mysterious or tough to access and you really had to go places to find it, it's just so easy to locate now, where anyone can go and be like, all right, this is the boss, this is what we need to do. I mean, they even put it in game, actually. They have the dungeon journals, the raid journals.
Right.
And so it takes a lot of the mystery out. And on one hand, that's great because it helps out those people that just can't beat that boss. But on the other hand, is not part of the fun in playing a game, and especially a game that's an MMO, figuring out how to do that with your guild, with your group of friends.
I think WoW, in general, going off of exactly what you were saying, has pretty much dumbed down every single aspect of the game to make it as low as of a learning curve as possible, so that literally anyone who has eyes and can see the game can play.
And you know what? I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
I don't either.
It's just the balance. There needs to be a balance, and I'm going to bring up.
Sure.
I'm going to bring up Hearthstone, which is like when we're saying like WoW kind of losing the flavor and stuff. I've actually spent a lot of time playing Hearthstone lately, and I'm not good at it, but I thoroughly enjoy it. But there's a lot of ways where, I mean, you could run like your face hunter deck, which would be like playing a hunter in Kata. You know, it's just, or I guess WoD better. Like it Hunter lives up to his name, but there's a lot of strategy and intricacies to that game that differentiates someone that knows how to make a deck and knows how to play it versus the person that has no idea the synergy between cards and how to use them. And I also want to bring up Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and the upcoming Overwatch, in that I could be mistaken on this, but I'm pretty certain that Hearthstone is turning into Blizzard's cash cow just through the purchases of decks and shit. Like they're making a lot of money. So with Warcraft being so long in its life cycle, with them coming out with Hearthstone, with them coming out with Heroes of the Storm, of course you have StarCraft, which is huge in esports scene. Diablo, I think people play that. And then Overwatch
more so
coming
than WoW.
up. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's so many other things that they're diverting their attention to that the main focus is no longer just in WoW. So maybe what we're seeing is not just, you know, the problems with the bots and such, but the fact that the balance is decreasing because maybe the resources aren't there, or maybe they're realizing that, you know what, our future's here, let's just keep this going for as long as we can and put the patches in that'll keep at least, say, the PvE content that may be generating the just percentage-based the most interest.
Right. And, you know, I think that's a really different way to look at it, but it makes sense. You know, they're expanding on all different levels.
Yeah.
And they're trying to hit different benchmarks.
Yeah.
Taking what you said and actually translating that directly into World of Warcraft, you could even say the same thing. Because look at how many different... This is one thing that I'm... Oh, man. Okay.
I feel like this is going to hurt to say.
Let's start here. World of Warcraft has turned its focus... Okay. World of Warcraft started with leveling being a grind, with it being a really hard time to get through. And it meant something to hit endgame. Whether... Just the fact it meant something to hit endgame. Like,
how many people remember having to sit down to drink after pulling a mob?
Right. And... I didn't have a character at max level, I don't think, until Kata, which I'm lazy, but at the same time,
but it also wasn't your focus.
I remember I did not make it past level 48. I was in Zul'Farrak, so lost, and I was always looking to join a group on my Night Elf tank, which I had no idea what I was doing. But there I am on my Night Elf warrior, trying to get in Zul'Farrak, and I couldn't kill the scorpions outside, so I pretty much stayed in the Zul'Farrak area, waiting for someone to escort me and help me. And I eventually gave up. Anyways, it goes from that type of game where you have to put so much commitment in, and there's such a learning curve that's necessary for advancement in the game, that as expansion per expansion per expansion per expansion, etc., they have made that learning curve much easier to obtain, and the accessibility has been increased a ton from just being, you know, you look at, you know, you go vanilla, and then as that comes to a close, you start seeing sites come up, and then you start seeing, you know, Wrath, BC, you see Blizzard starts acknowledging these sites and getting intertwined with them, and now it's to the point where they literally have the information on those sites pop up on your screen when you hit level 1. Every level, you're getting these tips. You're getting everything that you need in the game. You have BOAs to help make leveling easier. And hang on, let me go on a rant here. So the fact that, okay, in one sense, yeah, it's nice that you can level and not have that be an issue now, considering there's 100 levels instead of 60. That's nice. On the other hand, Blizzard has taken their focus off of the PvE and the PvP aspect and have changed it into other points. Like, battle pets, I think, are retardedly stupid. Like,
it's so funny
why
you say
do we
that.
have to have Pokemon in World of Warcraft? I think that was a big... In one sense, did it make sense from Blizzard as a company? Yes, it made sense for Blizzard as a company. Did it give Blizzard some headlines, some attention that Could attract people to come back to the game. Yes. Did it deter people away as a joke for basically copying Pokemon and putting it into WoW? Yes. Other things like even this expansion, like let's look at some things that happened in this expansion. You know, one of the biggest headlines going into this expansion from an all-around World of Warcraft perspective was garrisons. What is garrisons but a World of Warcraft point of view of Farmville?
I was thinking Clash of Clanish, but
Yeah,
Farmville,
yeah.
I guess. I haven't played Farmville, but I would assume that, yeah, that fits quite well.
I haven't either, actually, but I know enough about. I have a general consensus for both games that you just mentioned. But I mean, look, from a business perspective, does it make sense to have headlines? Does it make sense to have new material? Yes. At the same time, from an overall game perspective, it's turning into a game that used to be MLG to a game that's now,
Well,
this is now applicable to give to my 6-year-old daughter or son and actually let them start playing. I feel comfortable with them. And it's almost just a shift of where Blizzard wants to go with the game.
That's actually where I was going to go. I'm glad you said let me go on this rant. Because it really does seem like by adding in, let's just call it flair, because that's in a sense almost what it is. It's just like extra things to catch your attention.
Right.
And in adding all of these extra things to catch your attention, it seems like it might be having a possibly unexpected negative effect of detracting from what the game actually is at its core. And that's an MMORPG.
Right.
Where you go in, and maybe you never do raids, or you never do twinks, or you never do any serious PvP endgame. But still the core of the game should be playing what the game is. And if they're going to continue to shift away from that, where is that going to leave this game come next expansion? What new... Like, do you remember they were talking about having a dance studio?
Oh, God. No.
That was a while ago. I don't know if it was a joke, but I
Oh
actually
my
think it
God.
might have been serious. I mean, like, all of these bells and whistles seem... I don't know if I want to say stopgap.
Next expansion. Take your characters to the next dancing level as we introduce World of Warcraft Dance Dance Revolution.
They hook up
Hit
some
your arrow
weird
keys
connects
as hard
to
as
it.
possible,
Yeah.
and you will connect on songs like Katy Perry and Lady Gaga while you're in Warsong Gulch. Don't travel around the minimap with strafing anymore. Use our arrow key combinations and travel twice the distance in half the time.
The patch notes include the next Lord song being introduced.
Oh man.
Oh,
But
that
that's like
completely...
That's kind of where the game's going, man. I was gonna say that, you know, you look at big things like that, but even you look at small things too. Like look at small things like the Dark Moon Fair is now a pretty big thing in WoW. They make a pretty big event out of it. There's a lot of games. There's a lot of
Dude, they
new
put new
material there.
BOAs in.
Yeah, exactly, and it's an easy way to get BOAs. Accessibility-wise and flair-wise, does it look good for the game? Yes. Is it another thing that they're hyping up that has little importance to PvP or PvE? Yes.
Dude, it really almost seems like Blizzard is self-conscious of the fact that what the game is may no longer hold the interest, and they really do need to put in these distracting activities to feign some sort of interest in it. And I guess it's working for them. I mean, Takeo just said they still have 10 million people, so you were right on that.
Right.
But what's the long-term effect going to be? Is this a short-term solution creating a long-term problem? Or is this a short-term solution where they're going to just be taking the game in a different direction?
Well, it seems like at this point, they've taken the game for... Currently, it's more of a flair thing. Get people involved, get people, new players in the game. And that's another thing with some of these new incorporations and additions to garrisons, and additions to World of Warcraft Pokemon. Incoming Dance Dance Revolution.
Well, no, I don't think they're
No,
coming
I
out
know.
with that.
But just the fact that, you know, that attracts a younger crowd and a different crowd. But as one crowd moves in, another crowd moves out.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. And it might not just be what I was saying as far as shifting game for game's sake. It might be them recognizing the shift in their player base. In that, like when vanilla came out, right? It was hard. It was, let's just, comparatively speaking, it was hard. And let's be honest too, if you've never played a game before, like we all take for granted, like, oh, it's so easy to do this, so easy to do that. It's not so easy if you're just picking up a game for the first time. Don't kid yourself. You didn't just pick up this game and know how to gear your character, how to your proper rotation when you're in a dungeon, and how to interrupt and how to purge and what ability did what. You didn't, and don't tell me you did, because you didn't. But as the culture is shift, as the paradigm is shift, and gaming becoming more acceptable, you're going to have more people wanting to try things out. And if Warcraft becomes more accessible to a larger audience, then that'll keep boosting, or at least keep their subscriber base relative. It's just the issue comes in with you still need to have the proper amount of depth. And for us, when we're talking about it from a PvP perspective, and especially when we're talking about it, and you want to talk about flair, Twinks, I guess in a sense, could be a flair of the game. It's a little niche for us that's not necessarily, or wasn't originally part of the game's design. But as things become more broken, and as players get fed up, there's just going to be less there that keeps that hardcore infrastructure. And that is very important to a game. It's that hardcore infrastructure that keeps those fan sites going, that keeps those that are new to the game. It gives them an avenue to go find the information. A casual player is not going to start a fucking website and put up guides, or they're sure as shit not going to be like us and do a podcast every week.
Right. I'm going to bring it back a little bit to PvP here. This is where my homeboy nudge kind of comes in a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you look at ways that, new age, how to promote a game and what looks good for getting your game out there. We talked about it at the very beginning, but Twitch is a huge part of that now, and live streaming is a huge part of that. Having big events, having tournaments, huge part of that. Nick said this earlier in chat, but it's like, with World of Warcraft right now, there's probably more tournaments than ever available out there right now, whether it be Arena, the RBG tournaments, the Twink Cup, BlizzCon. You have all these different tournaments, and at the same time, the numbers are still going down for those kind of events. And the players that are involved in that, quality-wise, are going down, especially at a higher level. And this is something that Nudge said to me, too, that I didn't realize, but I'm like, wow, that was really, really dumb by Blizzard. Bold, but dumb. Recently, you're looking at... look, when you go onto Twitch, and if Blizzard's ever in the top 4 games, someone big is streaming. If they're up there, like, behind Dota and League of Legends for 3rd or 4th, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's someone who's big streaming. Usually it's Soda Poppin'. Usually it's someone like Wreckful, someone like that who can bring
It's that name
10K.
brand.
Right. It's someone who can bring in 10K viewers. Yeah, Blizzard perma-banned the entire Wreckful gaming house.
What? Why?
Well, they were account sharing, and it was very evident that they were account sharing from stream. So, they laid down the law, and now their entire house got perma-banned from World of Warcraft. With that being said,
that's a sticky situation right there.
The top PvP stream in World of Warcraft that would bring 10,000 viewers, 15,000 viewers whenever he's streaming. Plus, the players that he plays with in 3s or 2s are also going to have really high stream count just due to the fact that they're playing with Wreckful. That is a really bold move by Blizzard, and in my opinion, I think that was dumb as fuck. I
But that also begs the question, like, what do they do? Give him a pass? Like,
well,
why?
I
I
mean,
mean,
look at
so it's
professional
like you
sports.
hold.
Look at professional sports.
See,
look
I
at
guess
look at
you know
singers and
what?
actors.
Yes, let's use professional sports.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Barry Bonds was not perma banned, but he's never getting the fucking Hall of Fame. Like, there needs to be some sort of like, or like, say when McGuire and Sosa were going for the home run records, they fucking knew they were roiding. You don't just have your head grow that much, your home run counts jump like that out of the blue without some, what they were saying, juiced balls, when it was really juiced, biceps and shit. And they kind of blew it by until finally it was like, all right, we can't hide this anymore. We got some reporters that actually realized that this would be more successful to report on the fuck ups than the home runs. So it's like, what position is Blizzard supposed to be in? Are they supposed to set a double standard? And instead of, say, setting the double standard, do like what they're doing with professional sports. All right, we'll suspend him for a year. Then he can come back, but the sports writers will make sure they never get in the Hall of Fame. Like, what would be the equivalent? Because it almost seems like,
You know what the difference is a little bit here between those two? And I don't think that's a bad comparison, but here's the biggest comparison I see is that right now when you have someone that is still interested in playing PvP and is bringing in this kind of numbers and the quality of level of PvP existent in World of Warcraft, which is a low quality, just to reassure everyone, it's a very low quality, and you still have someone that's bringing in those kind of numbers to play that low quality of PvP,
mm-hmm,
and you drop them completely, it's not like you're seeing anyone else besides maybe Soda Poppin bring in those kind of numbers to World of Warcraft. Whereas in, like, you look at any professional sport, it's a little different story because you're losing. You are literally losing. No, WoW normally has, like, what, anywhere from 8 to 10,000, 12,000 people watching normally, and then you add in a big streamer like that, that's double. They get double the
mm-hmm.
viewers. You're taking half of your viewers away.
I get that.
It's
And
very bold, and I just think it's, yeah, are they doing something that's, like, very frowned upon about World of Warcraft? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is. I think a lot of people do it, though, and if you're gonna crack down on, like, one person, it's like, wow,
but see
there's
that,
a lot of people that still do that.
but then you got to put some of the blame on, say, Wreckful, where it's, listen, just don't be blatant about it. Like, I bet you if they didn't make it, like, I'm not familiar with the situation, so I'm just going to take your word for it that it was very blatant. Like, just make it so it's half as obvious. That at least gives Blizzard the ability to turn a blind eye. But it's like, if you walk up to someone and you say, fuck you, right to their face, or like, say you're walking by, right, you're with your girlfriend, and this dude walks by, and you're just like, oh, god damn, that bitch got a nice ass. But like, it's like you're not sure who the person's talking to. It might be your girlfriend, so you don't really have to react. Like, you can just kind of walk by, and it's like, I wonder, did you hear that? Was that about me? Oh, I don't know, babe, maybe, but I don't, it's really not worth going around to it. As opposed to the dude walking up, giving that ass a smack, like, damn, that's a fat ass, and you're like, oh, come on, man, really? I can't ignore this.
Oh my god. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, where are we with this?
I have no idea. This is going in weird ways I did not expect it to.
Anyways, like, I don't even know where we are at with this, actually.
All right, I want to bring it back then, more
I just
direct.
think that what Nick was saying was very accurate, too. It's like, there's so many, like, top-level people right now that are notorious for doing just awful things in World of Warcraft, whether it's people account sharing at high level, whether it's people that are definitely known DDoSers at high level that nothing gets done with them, to just take a turn randomly at this point in time of the game, when I think that they need all the player base they can get, I just think that was a huge mistake, and not good for the game in a PvP, in a promotional, in a Twitch embodiment atmosphere. I think it was a big hit.
So, like, if they were gonna act, they probably should have done it a year ago or 2 years ago,
I'm
and
trying to
not.
think of a realistic comparison right now. It would be like
Come
women's
on, Vaughn.
tennis and like telling Venus and Serena you're done forever. Then you're like, okay, who else plays women's tennis? Maybe that's a little bit of a U.S. mind point too, but like, for me, it's like U.S. women's tennis. It's Venus and Serena. You know what I mean? So like, maybe not the best comparison, but at the same time, it's kind of taken out the big hitters for. Anyways, we'll let that settle.
All right, well, let's completely switch gears because I feel like we're going off the rails a little bit.
Okay, fine. Wow.
I,
I thought I
I
liked my metaphor. So,
I don't. Yes, let's just say it's great. I don't. Probably was great. Again, I don't know. I guess those are the only two female tennis players I know as well. But I also don't play tennis. So, but all right. I want to make it more localized into or focused into what we do. Because if you and Nudge were having this conversation, it had to at least somewhat resulted from twinking our XP off.
yeah.
So do you?
Yeah.
So like, can you kind of expand upon that and say kind of what was going on there?
Well, what's going on in the bracket I play specifically, 19s, is very okay. 19s is pretty stale right now too, to be completely honest, but for different reasons. Okay, first off, I don't have to explain it again, but I'm going to explain it again because it's awful, but PvP balance across the board is just awful. And the patch notes for 6.2 just to make it worse for 19s. Come on, did druids really need another buff? How bad are they doing in PvE? Who cares about PvE? Let's nerf them by half, thank you. Anyways, moving from there. A lot of people are getting... The stale PvP environment makes for very stale games where things can happen in a global, and if you don't have a team that's totally paying attention, you can have either very unexpected wins or unexpected losses all the time. So very inconsistent atmosphere as far as PvP levels go.
Oh,
And
I
there's
like that.
definitely a lot of players that are not liking that consistent inconsistency. And are trying to do other things in the bracket. So what's happening right now is 19s right now is in a mist of a lot of the regulars that make the bracket are not playing 19s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's having an impact on the games that are happening. It's having an impact on the queue times. It's having an impact on the number of games happening. And it's having even though the quality of games is still bad because of PvP balance, the games are better when regulars play.
And tell me if I am wrong, but I believe one of the goals of Warlords of Draenor was to slow down the pace of PvP. And I've mentioned this on podcasts before that I think Blizzard missed the mark on that.
Yeah.
And I understand that, I mean, this was a PvE first game, that arenas were added in BC, that RBGs were added in Kata. So, I mean, the PvP thing's been building, and added to what at its core is a let's slay some goddamn dragons sort of thing. But if you're going to introduce this aspect, there needs to be some balance to it. And I kind of like what you said, the consistent inconsistency.
Right.
Like if you're queuing in a comp, and let's say 19s, and the other side has a feral, you're like, oh, fuck. What a...
Yeah.
Or if you're queuing up against Double Warrior, and they get super awesome Crusader procs, it's like... All right, let's wait 5 minutes. Maybe they'll get into another team, and we can get that other team or other few teams queuing, because that's what's the point of that? So, like, that hurts, and especially at a time now where we're coming up on, 3 months till the Twin Cup?
Yeah. we're getting 3.5 months. It's getting
I mean,
there.
when we first started talking about it, it's like, oh man, that's so far away. But you're really getting into the point where this should be the quote unquote preseason. You should be getting those pre-mades in. You should be getting
Right.
those war games in. You should be working out your roster. You should be playing with people. You should be organizing your squad if you don't
And
have
you know
one.
what? Commenting directly on that, and I'm sorry I cut you off,
That's
but
fine. Go
one
ahead.
thing I'm so happy that the community has done so far in regards to the Twin Cup is with how awful PvP balance is in World of Warcraft, saying it again, and at low level, I am happy in one way that the overall collective committee, whatever you want to call it, people who contribute to making the rules,
Hmm.
etc., for the Twin Cup, has added in so many rules at this point to actually make a pretty level playing field. Thank you for ban on ferals. But at the other side, it's like this is the most rules we've ever had to have for any sort of pre-made atmosphere ever. Like
But
no comparison.
and you know what's really one of my favorite things about twinking is and always has been the community aspect. And that community aspect allows for things like that to take place. You can see what's broken after playing a couple games. And you have people like yourself or Pizza or some others that aren't only going from here and now, but from the past. And they can draw upon that history. You can draw upon the history. You can be like, listen, we have these rules. I know for someone coming in, they seem like bullshit. It's like, what do you mean? If we're playing RBGs, we can do this. And it's like, yeah. And how fucked is RBG balance right now?
Yeah, right, right.
What we have in this little thing we got going, and I shouldn't even say little because it does a disservice. If you self-organize, self-fund, and self-per motherfucking moat a tournament that has over $7,000 into the prize pool, shout out to Living and Nasty and Arcan and Dids and especially Merm, to get that going, you can make the tournament what you want. You can take what Blizzard gives you, and you can carve out the best version of it.
Yeah.
And you should
that's-
cherish,
that's good.
relish, and embrace it and not fight against it. Because regardless of what some people might think, there is not an Illuminati working to make the most favorable this or favorable that. Sure, there might be some inklings in the back of minds. There might be one person pushing for what favors them best. But overall, it is the tournament's best interest, not the individual's best interest. And nothing else in this game that I'm aware of offers that.
And like you said, it does take, from an outside perspective, maybe a few games in the bracket to understand why some of these rules are in place. But is exactly like you said, it's awesome that this community has gotten to the point where we can come together in unison and realize that there are some things that we need to get balanced out. And so far, we've really just hit the nail on the head for just about everything thus far that's come up.
Yeah, and with those 6.2 patch notes coming in, I feel like that nail not only got hit, but it got drove the fuck into the
Yeah.
very deep core
Yeah.
of, listen, if you didn't think before, you really just, come on, dude, open your eyes.
Yeah. So, from a tournament perspective, it's great. From a pug perspective, I have very mixed feelings on what's going to happen in pugs. I don't like solo queuing anymore in pugs because of how bad pugs are anymore. And I'm a person that really likes solo queuing and really tries to just hop sides and just queue whatever faction kind of needs. Not that I won't, if I get into a game and I see people in there, I'm going to go play with them for sure and get in a call with them, but I like to see what's going on. I played 4 or 5 games yesterday, and man, that was one of the first times I just had to stop playing WoW because I rage quit. I was really fucking pissed yesterday playing WoW.
Oh,
And that was just for consistent inconsistency. It was just like, wow, we lost 3 games straight with 2 minutes to go because of flavor classes doing insane amounts of damage in globals. and overall lack of awareness too. On top of that, by
And what
teams,
sort
it
of
just
effect is
mind
that,
boggles.
to tie it back into sort of the Twitch thing? Has that had like an effect? Because you're not like really the only person streaming now. For a while, like, you were the one, and now you have Sax, and I'd say you're still the main, but you have like Saxon, I see Pizza, and some other people doing the streams. Are you noticing sort of a negative effect on the viewer base? Because I mean, you have less people that are playing, so less people interested in watching.
I think viewer-wise, I haven't. It's been pretty. We've been hanging around the same spot, um, but I will say for sure that it's not something I wouldn't. I do. I don't want to continue solo queuing, and I don't think it's very fun to solo queue anymore in the current meta. And I think that because of how bursty certain classes are and how fast things can turn with how bursty classes are, plus the stacked game right now,
Hmm.
it's just not realistic to be solo queuing. You just
But
need to queue with more people. And to tie that into what you're saying, it's that I would rather play with people, and I think that people enjoy watching that more, and I think people enjoy playing with other people more than solo queuing right now, which some people look down upon and other people
that's
approve
kind
of.
of where I was going to go with that. It's okay, say you and just two of your buddies queue together. You don't get a full 5-man. And you have that consistent inconsistency of, okay, cool, this game we got against another group of people. A decent comp, this is going to be good. But then the next game, the three you get in, and it's just a hodgepodge of Warlock, Mage, Holy Pally. Like, what does that do to games? I can't imagine that's positive.
Yeah, it's really. So here's the bad. Here's another bad thing. I don't want to go too far down this road, but the balance in PvP is so bad right now that you either have people that are playing flavor classes or you have people that play classes that just don't work. And you mix that together, and sometimes you have good games just because of how things worked out. Other times you have games that are full of people and full of players that can't do anything. And then other times you have a team that is the full color of the rainbow and you can't get out of GY. So the fact that there's only limited classes that can do really well, and there's classes that don't have a lot of success at all and takes a really high skill cap and a certain amount of X class
Hmm.
to have success, it's disencouraging for people to queue up and play for reasons of the fact it's like, even a lot of people that play druids right now or play hunters or play disc priests, like people understand these classes, a warrior on top of that, these classes are overpowered, and a lot of people that have like a background sense of knowledge of the bracket aren't going to deny that, but they may continue playing it because of the fact that they want to queue on something that
can
can
make a
give their
difference.
team the difference, right? But then when you get into these games, it's no wonder why you see 5 druids on a team. And that definitely is a different quality of play because of the meta. You look at something, you look at expansions, and always during expansions, and we could look back at this expansion at one point and be like, oh, wow, yeah, it was a great meta, but probably not. Anyways, going against my point, you look back at expansions, and while you're going through them, you're like, oh man, this is rough. But like, WoD, people threw a lot of hate at, or not WoD, I'm sorry, Missa Pandaria. People threw a lot of hate at MOP 19s, but honestly, at least MOP 19s, there were a lot of different class specs that could be queuing and having success, especially from a caster standpoint.
Hmm.
Now it's just like melee festival who can one-shot harder. And I'll tell you, man, it's a flavorful, globally kind of bracket right now.
Isn't it weird because last it was the caster, and now it's the melee?
Hmm.
Like, how many casts we have where it's like, ah, man, you can run a warrior, you can do some damage, but you're going to have to make your healer overextend. There's so many casters on the other side. And now it's just the charge-in shit show of Crusader and Rend. It's weird the way it switches. And think when you look back at past expansions where you're like, you know what, that's better than we think. There's something Rise and I always like to throw around. It's like the rose-colored glass effect, where when you look back on something, you tend to remember the good but forget the bad, or overemphasize the good in the things that you liked, and sort of, yeah, conveniently forget the negative. So it will be interesting to see where this falls in terms of like historical context as far as expansions go, but there's no
Right.
denying that currently there are some real issues.
Yeah. Like the fact... Okay. I'm actually going to stop. We're getting too bracket
Yeah, I
specific.
feel like we're getting super negative too. I think I can just feel like the
But-
tone in the voice is like, oh.
But that's kind of where we're at. And I think
Yeah.
that... Hey, man. We got two little voices out here with some big dreams. Help our dreams become true.
Dude,
Spread the word, because World of Warcraft... World of
World of
Warcraft...
Warcraft. But no, there is, before
there's
you
some-
finish on
yeah.
that, I think there is one thing that should be said.
Sure.
I'm not sure, actually I am sure, there's never been a point in time where Blizzard has paid more attention.
That's true.
And it's a really weird juxtaposition where 19s have arenas for the sole fact that Blizzard listened.
That's true.
They acquiesced and they're like, all right, if you guys are really going to do this, if you really want it, here you go. There's never been more response to XP off since the actual XP off patch when they were going to introduce XP or leveling in 3.2. And yet at the same time, we're seeing so much shit tank what really could be and what we thought was just going to be the quote-unquote golden age. Like, this was going to be the greatest thing ever. We have scaling, we have all the enchants, some blah, 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 blah. And the game mechanics are just presenting themselves in a way that it's really undermining what could be fantastic. But you
So
can finish on your negative note.
I think full circle. I think we've talked about a lot of things here that could be really thought-provoking and very intriguing to think of full circle. This is a cast for me that I really want to get the word out about this cast, guys, so go around and tell some people about it because I love playing World of Warcraft. I'm not happy with the current state of World of Warcraft, and I think a lot of people are on that consensus. So let's try to get some awareness about the state of World of Warcraft. See if we can't make an impact. Get out there, voice on forums. Get out there, voice on bisnation.net. Get out there.
And Twitter, especially Twitter has proven such a valuable tool for us. Do not underestimate
yes.
what a Twitter presence can do. The previously mentioned 19 arenas, example A for what can be accomplished through that.
At bisnation. At Fear the Buns, if I'm not mistaken. I just want the game that I love to be in a better place than it is now. And the way you gotta get that done is by masses and by communication, folks. So let's get it. Let's run it.
Holla to the Jala.